Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to a rainy and semi-warm video. It is raining outside, but I thought it was appropriate to come out here and shoot this video outside here with the bolt. Now you can see I actually pulled off one of the windshield wiper arms because the wiper blades are just horrible. I guess that's the best way to say it, and remain semi sort of neutral. So this is the wiper blade, and I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of bent in every direction, and all it does is skip around on the windshield when it's going back and forth, and it's never actually really gotten the rain off. If it wasn't for the fact that I coat the windshield with Rain-X, I probably wouldn't be able to drive the car much when it's raining. And since I live down here in the south, well, I got to deal with rain. So, without really studying these originally, I figured, well, let's go to, Wally's and pick up a pair of these cheapo wipers that are supposedly made to fit any vehicle. Well, I hate to say it, they don't fit. The book will tell you that they fit, but there's some adapter that's either missing, and I thought this was the adapter. Let me show you. This little guy, I thought this was it, but this doesn't seem to do it either. This arm has a single push button release right here that you press, and then the whole thing slides out. You can also not take apart the ends of this to pull out the blade. I tried that too. I almost broke it. In fact, I thought I did break it, and then I was able to just stop what I was doing, and it didn't get any worse. So, long story short, I had to call the dealer. And you guys know me and Chevrolet. Most of the time we don't see eye to eye, but my last dealership experience was decent. So I thought, well, let me call them and find out. I called them. The guy that answered, he was nice. He said, well, give me your VIN number and I'll look it up. It took this man an incredible long time to look up my car, because apparently the VIN number comes back to two different build models. And he's asking me, he's like, do you have build number 1 or build number 2? And I literally, in my infinite innocence, I said, how would I know? How would I know the difference? He said, well, I don't know. And so our conversation started. I said, well, let me ask you this. I'm looking for wipers. And are they both different for each vehicle? He said, yes, they are different part numbers. So I said, well, I don't know what else to give you besides the VIN. Because all I have is the window sticker, and guess what? All it has is the VIN number on it that's identifying the car. So he said, well, okay, let me do some research. He puts me on hold. I must have been on hold for 20 minutes. But since I was curious to know about these wipers, I figured, why not? So I stuck it out. I waited. I listened to the horrible music. And he comes back, he says, you know what, I talked to my parts manager, and he said this, and this. And I said, okay, great. So what's the cost? And he says, oh, $60. And I literally just had to catch myself. And I had to, kind of swallow, that painful pit that was in my back of my throat. And I said, excuse me? He said, yes, $60 from General Motors. Okay. I need you to explain to me why it's that expensive. He said, I don't know. That's what the list price is. That's what the list price is. I said, okay. I'm not going to spend that money on wipers because there's just no way. I have to figure out a way to do this aftermarket. You're probably asking yourself, why not just buy it? Well, I could, but what fun would that be? No, in all seriousness, actually, I just recently started really paying attention to what I'm spending money on. And windshield wipers going for $60 for two of them, not even all three, just two of them, is excessive. And it's really uncalled for. And I just don't want to even think about it, to be honest. So what I did was same thing that every other person who's watching their spending would do. And I said, sir, do you know of an alternative? Do you know if there's a part that I can buy that I can adapt to normal windshield wipers that I could buy at an auto parts store? Because this doohickey is not available. I went to Advance, I went to Napa, I went to O'Reilly, and I went to just a local parts store that's not a chain here in town. And they all kind of looked at me like, what the hell is this? Okay. So that gave me all the information I needed. Well, I hung up with the phone, not having purchased them, and then I just figured, you know what? It's not raining right now. I'll put this on the back burner until I really need it. And that was a mistake because, as you guys might know, that when you're doing research and you're trying to sort out parts and where to get them from and whatnot, it takes time to source stuff. Well, it takes a lot more time when nobody knows what you're talking about. You know, you walk into a parts store with this and you're like, I need two of these. Or actually, I need one of these and one of the, I think the other one's 18 inches. This one's 24, by the way. And they all kind of look at you like you're drunk. Like you're like, what in the Betty Crocker you got there, son? That's what I was getting. So I ended up going to Waffle House. I tossed it around for a minute and I just said, you know what? I'm going to just not spend the money and I'll deal with this. And then I did some research. I'm like, how can you resuscitate old wiper blades? Like, can you put something on the rubbers to make them better? And, you know, I did the whole thing. I did the Vaseline. I did, you know, the Rain-X treatment for the window to make it slick and easier to get water off so the wipers don't skip around. And that's ultimately the symptom here, is all this wiper does is skip. So every 3 inches, it wipes a quarter of an inch, and then it skips 3 inches and wipes a quarter of an inch, skips 3, and then it just does that. And in the past, it used to be you turn them on after about, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, they'll kind of even out and things will be all right. But now, what, 9 months later, let's just say 9 months later, it's to the point where nothing I do, no matter how many times I clean the windshield, I actually have some really good, you know, pro concentrate glass cleaner, you know, everything. And it's just brrr, 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 brrr. I'll insert a clip from inside the car. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. So yeah, I ended that conversation. I went to lunch and then I sort of put it out of my mind. Like I said, it wasn't raining. The weather was sort of nice. The sun had come out. It was still cold out because this was a few weeks ago. And I literally thought to myself, like, when it starts raining again, I'm going to be in the same boat. So I just said, okay, I'll do some more research. I started researching, and then life, as you know, got in my way. You know, some things come up, you know, things had to be done, work came up, projects had to be finished, and et cetera, et cetera. And by the way, for the record, being your own boss is awesome. I highly recommend it. If you can start your own business, and do your job 100% successful and be only accountable to yourself, yeah, it's awesomeness. So anyway, I you know, I digress. Uh, One day, sitting there at the dining room table, doing some work on my laptop, and all of a sudden there's a knock to the front door. And I thought to myself, well, I wasn't expecting anybody, but, you know, let's go open it. Because normally I don't answer the front door. If I'm not expecting you, I don't answer the door. That's just my policy. Just like I don't answer the phone if I don't know who's calling. I stopped doing that years ago, and it saved me a lot of stress. By the time I got to the door, the UPS driver was already in his truck and he was pulling away. And I just kind of waved, hoping he'd seen me in his rearview mirror just to, show of thanks. And he dropped off this triangular box, which it looks like it got thrown away because it's no longer in this garage, which is fine because I wouldn't want it in here anyway. But can any of you guess what was inside that box? I couldn't. Eddie and I both kind of looked, Eddie, my son, and I looked at each other. He says, "Daddy, what's in the box?" And I said, "I have no clue." There was no return address. There was nothing really identifying about it other than the fact that it had my name and my address on it. Well, wouldn't you know it, the dealership must have made a mistake. I didn't pay for these. These are a wiper set, a wiper blade set pair for the front. As you can kind of see, I haven't even opened them. So this is the passenger one, and this is the driver one. No identifying information. Typically there's a label like this little mailing label that has the customer information on it, something that's identifying. Well, I will tell you this, that it says 14655, and then all it says is counter. From is GM Customer Care and After Sales in Charlotte, North Carolina, and 2 is the dealership. There's no identifying information on this one either. I think there was a mistake made and somebody pressed the order button when they should have exited the system or whatever, because I have a pair of brand new wiper blades and, well, I think there's only one thing I can do. Let's get the other one off and put these on, because why not? I can't explain it. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that that's a normal operating procedure, but it is what it is. So I'm going to sit you guys down here, just like this. There you are. We're going to open this up. I appreciate the dealership for getting these to me. The other thing I don't remember doing is actually telling them who I was. So these, there's the part number, in case you're wondering, and they're made in Mexico. So this is the passenger side one. So I wish they were kind of perforated and easier to open, because I feel like I'm going to damage them. But let's go put this guy on. I have a feeling. Okay, there's only one way to put these on. You can't really screw them up. So you have to line up that hole right there with this button right here. So I want to say that it goes in like that. Cool. And it actually is the right length, because you can kind of see the old wiper pattern here. on that side too. So let's do the other one. I guess so far so good, right? Set you down again. Open the big boy up. Oh, GMOE stuff. Original equipment. It's crazy. Sometimes you get lucky, you know? Sometimes good things do happen, even though it's unexpected and a surprise. You know, somebody spent $60 on this on behalf of me, and the only thing I could say is thank you very much, because there was no way that I was going to buy these wipers for $60. So the fact that they showed up is beyond me. So let's do this one more time here. So you line up this button right here with this hole, and they just kind of slide in. And that's it. And that looks like the right length too, according to that wipe pattern and that edge there. Let's see how they sound, because ultimately that's all that matters. Oh, that is how windshield wipers should look and sound. That's it. No skipping, no jumping. I haven't cleaned the window today because it's raining. Turn that off. And to be honest, I'm thrilled, because when Eddie and I were driving back from Pennsylvania, we hit snow, and that snow and ice was just skipping around on the window, and it surely made for an interesting drive home. But fortunately, we were safe and nothing happened, and you know, we kind of just took it slow. But yeah. As far as these two go, I'll probably keep them as spares. I always do. I always have one set of used wipers, either in my toolbox or somewhere off to the side, because if something were to happen, you know, and you're in the middle of nowhere, you can still use these, even though they don't work very well and they're old. And who knows, maybe once they dry out and they sit in a corner for a while without moisture or anything, maybe they'll reconstitute themselves. This one's pretty damaged though. You can kind of see that edge is kind of bent to one side, and then when it goes this way, it just goes da 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 da. And also the springiness doesn't help. You know, I don't think the wipers need to be bouncy. I think the arms should be bouncy, but the wipers should be, you know, semi-rigid. But it's my opinion. Doesn't matter. So yeah. All right, so there you have it. 2 windshield wipers installed relatively easily and quickly. I did it in the rain for fun. You guys can do it while it's dry or in your garage if you have the space. But I'm really thankful to the parts manager at the dealership for accidentally purchasing these. You know, side note, I did check my credit card statements to see if I actually paid for these. I did not. You know, I went back a month and there was nothing. So I'm really thankful that one man's mistake was my gain, because there was no way that I was going to spend $60 on those 2 wipers. Just no way. And I can't imagine what the third one would have cost. Maybe $100 for all 3. I don't know. So it is what it is. So I'm going to leave that off there. It's a relatively short video, but I appreciate you guys as always. Thanks for joining me on this very rainy and dreary day. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And until next time, thanks so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.